I'm going to go through how to set up your key to bind it to your lock, so that then you have remote access capabilities after that. One big thing to remember with your keys, which is this USB key here, is when you first get your key and pull it out of the box, you can set it up one of two ways. If you bind it to a lock, it then becomes a master. After you've made it a master, you can make it a subkey of any other master that you want, and you can make any other master key a subkey of this one. Being a subkey means that the master key can allow you access to any locks that it has bound to it. The other setup is if you take it out of the box and just make it a subkey of your master key. If you do that, it will be a subkey forever. You will not be able to set up any locks with that key. So I highly suggest that you take one key, take your key and make it a master of one lock. And then after that, you can make it a subkey of any other locks that you want. So with that, I have this lock plugged in. It's got the power light on it. You want to, on your first setup, you want to plug in your lock, let it sit for a minute or two so that it has time for everything to start up. Once it's started up, on the back here, you have a USB connection that you'll plug your key into. So if we plug it in, you let it sit for about 15 seconds. And what's happening is that works on a 256-bit encryption with certificates. So it is exchanging those certificates from the key and the lock between each other. So then it will be married up. And I just clued in that I don't have internet connection. So once that is set up, you pull the key back out, and then you just plug it into your computer. And I'm going to share my screen. So I plug it in, and it's going to open up your file folder, your Windows Explorer. It has all of the software and everything already embedded in it. So your Tosibox exe, if you double click it, it'll install the software and it will bring up this window. Being this is brand new straight out of the box, it says set your password for your Tosibox key. So yes, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to type in my password and then hit OK. Let you know that it's changed. After that, it'll pop up this window, and this is the key number, which we'll go through and we'll change so that you can say this is tech key 1, tech key 2, master key. You can give it a name, so when you plug it in, it will show here so that you know what key that is. With setting up this password and having it be a USB key, if you happen to lose it, no one can get into this and get access to any of your systems without having this password. So it has, that layer of security that nobody can just get into your system. Give me 2 seconds. I've got to get everything moved over. Okay, sorry about that. Had to move it over to the other wall. So now this shows this lock TV, which is the number of that lock on my list that's tied to this key. It tells you that it's grayed out, showing you that it does not have internet access, and it's waiting for it to come online. Once it has access, it will turn yellow, letting you know that it is online. There we go, turned yellow. We'll let you know it's online and ready to connect. So for the key name, if we come up here and go to devices, and it says manage keys, it shows you here key 3446. I'm going to change this to training key. And as soon as I hit enter, if you notice up on top, now that key name is training key. So on the lock, I connected internet to the WAN, the WAN network. The way the Tosibox lock works is it is a firewall. So on the security side, if you plug into the WAN, it just gets an internet connection through a DHCP server on the network. Anything on, so if you're hooking, like right now I'm hooked into my office's internet. Anything that is on the LAN side of the lock, the switch side, got a chat from Daryl, says that might let people know that the 200 lock doesn't say WAN. Yeah, I forgot to say we're working on the 100 lock, which is the one that is most commonly used with contractors. It has the Wi-Fi capability so that you could actually hook onto a Wi-Fi network, not just have a hardline connection. They do have the 200 block. That one has a PoE on it if you need it. Has a little more bandwidth and doesn't say the WAN. All of the locks, and then they have a 500 too, which is the biggest one for the most throughput connection. I found for, you know, our industry with the control side of everything, that the 100 has enough speed for what we need when we're getting in looking at, you know, our systems. But it has the firewall so that anything on my company's network can't see down through it. And anything on the LAN side, you know, the control side, can't see back up through to my office network. So there's that security firewall there for, say, hospitals or, you know, higher profile customers that don't want their networks being accessed, but still be able to have remote access, secure remote access to their control system. So the next thing is if we come over here and click on connect, it's going to go out through the internet and connect directly to this lock. The nice thing also about having the Tosibox locks are you don't have to have a public IP, so the end customer doesn't have to pay a monthly subscription for public IPs. You don't have to worry about port forwarding through your switches. Everything's all done basically on the private network. So the security, the added layer of security of not having those public IPs out there for anybody to hack is nice. So it's going to take a second where it's the first connection. On these locks, they have two types of connections that you can do with your keys. They have a layer 2 and a layer 3. The difference between the two layers, which we'll get in and show here in just a second. Layer 3 puts you on kind of a VLAN. So if your LAN that your controls are on is 192.168.1, when you're a layer 3, it can assign you a 172.163.2, some different subnet. It patches those through to where you can see the network. Layer 2 is where it assigns you an IP address of 192.168.1. So you are essentially on the same network as the control system. I prefer a layer 2 because when you're connecting, it's a lot easier, especially with your front end. So if you're connecting remotely and you have your workbench, or if you're doing Allerton, you have your Compass up, or EasyIO, you've got your CPT up, you can just type in the IP address and you don't have to worry. If you're doing, say, BACnet IP, you don't have to register as a foreign device. You can just have standard IP and not have to worry about what device is that BBMD to get connected to the system. So all I did was double clicked on I moved my thing now so I can't see. All I did was double click on the lock, which took me into the lock's web browser page. If I click login, it's going to ask for the password. The initial password is on the sticker on the back of the lock. You're going to want to make sure that you change this in your office before you send that out. So I'm going to type in the password, and as you can tell, I can't talk and type at the same time. Once you get into it, it gives you your status, your settings, and your network. We're going to want to come into settings and change the admin password. And this is where you got to type in, for the last time, the original password, and then type in your standard password that your company uses. And then hit save. And it'll tell you up top, password successfully changed. Now you can ship this off, put it in a panel, ship it off to the job, and always have remote access to be able to get in and set it up. If we come into settings again, we want to change the lock name, because on my list, if I have 100 locks and they're all locked TB109, it's not very intuitive to know what building or what job site that's on. So if we come into set lock name, this is where I can do Tosibox training lock. Hit save. And now if you notice up top, it shows Tosibox training lock. It still tells me what the lock's original kind of serial number is. And if you come back over to your Tosibox key list with the locks tied to it, it's changed that name. So now if I have those 100 locks and they all have individual names, I know which building I'm going to be connecting to a lot easier. Another thing that we want to do is we want to come into software update, and we want to pick our time zone. And I'm in Mountain, so I'm going to pick Mountain. Hit save, and that's going to allow it to do auto updates for firmware at the correct time zone. So you can also change the times that you have it do the auto update for firmware and everything, so that your security is up to date. So now we're going to get into the network. This is the nitty-gritty, really good side of the Tosibox. I like to say it's kind of networking for dummies. So if we click on network, come into the LAN, that's going to be the side that our control system is set up on. You can have on the protocol, you can have it be a static address, which will allow it to be the DHCP server for that network. This can be changed. So if I want this to be 192.168.1.1, so that it's essentially the gateway, and then I change the IPv4 subnet mask to /24, just a regular 255.255.255.0. I can hit save, and now all my devices that are set up on the LAN as a DHCP client will get a 192.168.1 network. When I hit save, it closed my connection because I changed that LAN. It had to reboot that lock so that it could reassign that network. So we'll reconnect and we'll get in and see that it's made that change. While we're waiting for it to connect, I have another master key that we use for other locks that we've set up. I'm going to plug it in to another USB. And as you see, it pops up, and this says that it's the tech master. If I type in my password and hit enter, it comes up, and because there's the other master key already plugged in, it comes up and asks me, do you want to make this a sub key? So I'm going to hit next. It's going to ask me what locks of my original master that was plugged in do I want to give it access to. I'm going to click the checkbox. And then this is where you can set up also the connection type. This is at layer 2 and layer 3. So I'm going to select layer 2 because every time I connect with my second key that I'm making a sub, I want it to connect with a layer 2 so that it assigns me a local IP address on the same network. So if I hit next, it tells you, your confirmation, telling you it's going to give you access with all interfaces and devices to the Tosibox training lock. I'm going to hit save, and it says operation complete. So now I'm going to pull out both keys. It takes away my Tosibox. I'm going to put my second key that I made a sub. And it will pop up. Type in my password. And then it will populate my list. This list is all the locks that this key has access to, both as a master and a sub. If you notice right here, my TechLock 100 is already automatically connecting. That is because I had it connected last time I pulled the key out. I did not hit disconnect. So that is one nice thing, that if you lose connection, internet, anything, it will automatically connect to your locks. So if I hit disconnect, it'll disconnect on that one. If you notice here on the list, I've got my Tosibox training lock. If I hit connect, it will allow me to connect to it. So the way we have this lock set up right now is a connection through the WAN, just to have internet connection. Nobody can see through that firewall on either side, the WAN or the LAN. And if you're not on the LAN side, you're not able to see your system. So for my office building, if I was setting this up, I would want to be able to see from my computer my control system and not have to put my lock in. For that application, I would set my LAN up to be a DHCP client. And then I would connect my internet into a LAN port and not use the WAN. So here in just 1 second, it'll exchange those certificates. And being this is the first time this lock has connected, it's going through all of its verification of the certificates. One big thing to remember when you are setting up your lock as a DHCP client is that your key will need to have a static IP. So you're going to want to come into your settings, keys and locks. And if you notice, my tech master is in there. I can set it for layer 2 or layer 3. And I can also assign it a static IP so that every time you connect with that key, your computer is going to get that assigned static IP. So one big thing is always remember, set your static IP. So if I do layer 2, I'm going to do 192.168.1.115 and then hit save. And because I changed that, I'm going to want to disconnect and reconnect so that it will assign that static IP to me. All right, so now we are connected again. It will make me log back in. And if you notice, now the IP address is 192.168.1.1. Now I can come in, I can change my LAN from static address to a DHCP client. You can set this up as an unmanaged switch. I don't do that because once you set it up kind of as an unmanaged switch, you lose a lot of your capabilities out of it. DHCP client is a kind of a regular setup that we do so that everybody that's on the network can still see through to their existing control system, but we are also able to securely get in through the VPN connection to see the system and support the customer. So once you set up DHCP client, it turns off the LAN DHCP server. So this is saying that there is no DHCP server active. You want to make sure that there are not 2 DHCP servers on the same network with the same IP addresses, because that will cause a lot of problems.
Hey Jeff, real quick, Cyril, so the way you set that up, does that get rid of we've had problems before where we have conflicting IP addresses? Is that where it's trying to assign it?
It could, if you have two DHCP servers on the network, because both will try and assign everything IP addresses.
Okay, that's yeah. Okay, that explains what a problem that we were having on one. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why if you set the existing building's network into the LAN, you want to make sure that that DHCP server is turned off, which should fix any of your issues. There are a lot of other options that you can go into. For the most part, I have never got into this WAN priority to adjust anything. By default, everything is pretty much set to be plug and play on the settings. The biggest things that we as users of the Tosibox would really get in to mess with is that LAN, to either set it up as a DHCP client or a static address, and then that DHCP server to enable disable. On this 100, it does have the WLAN, which is your wireless LAN. This is that wireless Wi-Fi option to be able to set it up as an access point so that you could connect to it through your computer's Wi-Fi as an access point. You can also set it up to be a client, which if it's a client, that is where it allows you to do a scan for SSID names and connect to the building's Wi-Fi to get connection, which is a great option. You know, if you don't have a Ethernet drop available where you end up installing the panel or the lock. Most of the time, I would imagine though that you can just set that lock. You're going to have an Ethernet drop already to your controller, to your Jace, to your ACM, to your FS, whatever your global controller is, already there that you can use. Another nice thing too that I almost forgot is Tosibox is more than just a secure VPN connection tool. It also allows you to create an intranet. So it is actually a network infrastructure tool. So up here on this list, this 420 East South Temple, that is a building in Salt Lake that we have that also has this other building, 57 West 200 South. So it's a multi-building kind of campus. We have two locks. This one that's yellow on 420 East South Temple is our master lock. And this other lock that is on 57 West 200 South is a sub lock of that. So you can take one lock and assign 2, 3, 4 different locks as a sub lock under it. When you do that, you can have them be set up so that they are all on the same network number. You can have it so that this building had, say is 192.168.2 network. This 420 East South Temple is 192.168.1 network. But it will trunk those two subnets together, those two VLANs, so that you can connect straight to this system that's on this network. So I know we've all kind of run across those situations with customers where they have these multiple buildings. They don't have an intranet built in with their IT. They just have individual circuits, you know, ISP internet circuits to each building, and really no way to connect to anything besides, say, a public IP if you was doing backnet IP. This allows you to create that intranet very cost effectively. They don't have to keep those public IPs if they don't want. And you can have everything either be on the same subnet so that you don't have to worry about BBMDs when you're talking backnet IP, or you can do just local, you know, private backnet IP, which is a lot easier than public IP and conversions with all your UDP ports and everything. So I wanted to kind of touch on that really quick. How you bind those locks is if you come up here to devices, you have connect locks. And this will give you the list of locks that I am a master of with this key that I'm currently using. So if you notice this Tosibox training lock, I don't have master key rights on it because I am a sub key. All of these other ones are assigned to this key. So if I check these three MS school locks, hit next, I want to select the lock that I want to remain as a lock. So that's going to be kind of your master lock. I want lock 1 to be. I'm going to hit next. It shows you lock 1 is your master, and then you've got the 2 other locks that are below it. I hit save. Operations complete. I've just created my intranet. And then as soon as these 3 locks get online, these are brand new locks that went out in panels and have not actually been installed yet. But I will be creating that intranet that I just set up. Once they get internet connection, they will show up just like this 420 East South Temple. It'll say HEMIS School 1, and then it'll say School 2 and School 3 underneath it with the gray showing that they are sub locks. So it's that easy to create a multi-building campus intranet for your control system. Just plug and play. We're coming up. We're 8:38 right now, or 38 after the hour. Try and take the last few minutes for some questions if anybody else has any others. And also know that if you don't have any questions right now, but you do end up getting a lock, going to set it up, you know, you have any questions, even straight out of the box, getting it set up, I will put my contact info in the chat. Feel free, send me an email, give me a call. I can, you know, help walk you through all of the setups. I've had a chance to, you know, get my feet wet pretty good with the Tosibox product. We also have, you know, Demond down Houston way, Bryson and Cameron up in Salt Lake that are more than happy to, you know, assist you that way too. If they don't have the answers, or I don't have the answer right off the top of our head, we will find the answer and get right back to you. But, you know, as I said, it's pretty plug and play. There's only a couple changes that you really need to make. And most of them are on your LAN, setting it up as that DHCP client from a static IP, depending on the application. So if nobody has any other questions, I think we could probably end it there. And like I say, feel free, reach out, ask once you start down that path of setting it up, feel free to reach out. Be more than happy to help you. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, taking the time out of your morning, and look forward to talking to you later.